You know, I like to refer to my place as my sunrise sanctuary. It's when I get up early in the morning and it's so peaceful and so quiet, except for the blue jays. You can see them flashing around. But you know what? Alas, I do have to go to work. So the guy next door to me comes out and he says, "Are these trees different? Why does my tree have all these berries on it?" I said, "Because that's a female tree." He says, "Oh, I guess I should have paid more attention in high school biology." Pistachia chinensis, Chinese pistache. This is a fairly wide example of a fairly common tree in our area. There's a small one. They are a beautiful tree in the fall when they change colors. They turn a brilliant scarlet red, sometimes orange, and people really love this tree. But there's a big however, and the however is they have lots of issues. They have brittle branches, and as you can see, some of the weeping here from branches that were too heavy, so they started cracking, and there's some bad pruning from the past. And there were some interesting things that were going on here. I thought this might have been a root barrier, but I believe it's some sort of a landscape material holder, but it looks terrible. Plastic just does not belong in the landscape. So my job was kind of interesting. The client was very, very concerned about not losing the grandeur and the privacy on this tree. There's where an old limb ripped out a long time ago. So she wanted us to lighten it up, but not too much. And sometimes I get into these situations and I see limbs that look like they're just about ready to break. Like this one. This limb is so wide and so heavy. I feel obliged to make it lighter, but she was very adamant not to overdo it. So it felt like what I felt like I needed to do, my hands were kind of tied because I had this restriction. So I was very clear to her that we'll do the best job that we can, but this tree has got some weaknesses. You see that little bend on that long branch right there? About halfway in the middle of the picture, that looks like a spot where it's going to break. I can feel it. I can see that limb stretching out and it's bending over. It wants to break right there. There's another one. That one goes out over the road. So we had some other issues. We had some of the branches were far too low and the trucks were hitting them. See that bend right there? Branches like that just don't naturally bend. They kind of get too heavy and they crack and they bend over and crack. So those are indicators that you may have something more hazardous going on. This is a neighbor's tree, and I wanted to point this out. This has got a very unusual structure. This is a cut that should be done now. You can see where it's rubbing. So identifying early future hazards is important. Further down, there's yet another Chinese pistache. But this tree looks like it's dying. I wanted to show you this because do you see the weeping on the trunk? There is a trunk canker disease that is attacking this species of tree. And I've seen quite a few of them decline because of this trunk canker disease. And that weeping is the indicator. You can see that it's going on. There's no cure for it. This one's a good looking tree. This one's got more of an upright shape to it. The big problem with this species is it's so wide that they usually grow low and out over the roads. And those wide, low, heavy branches will either get hit by trucks or oftentimes will crack. And if you're parked underneath the tree, that's an issue. So we got up in the tree. I did a lot of the outside work with the bucket as well as work off of the ladder. I did use my Milwaukee extension chainsaw on the pole. That is, I cannot say enough about that tool. That just speeds things up. You have to be really careful. Look at that. That's where there was an old wound and it came back with about 5 new branches that exacerbated the weight. Everywhere I look, I see problems. So when I'm doing a pruning job like this, I'm analyzing the tree first. Here's an interesting shot I got up in the air with my bucket truck. That's an overview of the tree. The canopy looks really good. It's nice and full. There's a neighbor's tree, and if you look closely, you can see that black plastic in there. That is a root barrier that was put in when the tree was planted. But you know what? I have a real negative feeling about root barriers because clearly they don't work. The roots, they find a way. They go under, they go over, and I think it's a waste of time. So we carried on with our job, and believe it or not, we took out an incredible amount of weight on this tree without overdoing it. Now, Lucy came by, and it was her bid, and she was very adamant on this particular tree not to remove the suckers. But the neighbor's tree, they were paying for it separately, and they had a different idea. So we kind of trimmed both trees a little differently. So we cleaned out the interior canopy of this one, and the other one, we left it a little bit thicker. It's kind of a matter of discretion. Some people like it nice and clean on the inside. I think it makes the job look a little bit more finished. And some people say, well, it makes it look more stripped out. I don't know. As long as the canopy is full and it doesn't bake the trunk, I don't think it's an issue. So it's an aesthetic issue. And that's what the tree looks like when it's all finished. And thanks for watching.